Hello, Kate. Welcome to my podcast, One for the Road. It's been a bit of a while getting you on because we've been crossing wires a little bit, haven't we? But it's so lovely to have you here. Um,
Yeah, I'm really pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
oh, it's a real joy. And before we move on, it's important for the listeners to know straight away, actually, you have something called friedreich's ataxia. And I just wondered if you could just tell them what that is, actually.
Yeah, of course. So, one thing that manifests from Friedrich's is that I do have quite slurred speech. It can be a bit slow, a bit deliberate, and it actually does sound like I've been drinking. I can promise you I haven't. We'll obviously get to that later. But as well as speech problems, I have mobility issues. I use a wheelchair, I use a rollator, I use a mobility scooter, depending on the day. My balance is terrible. I drop things all the time. It's funny that I should find myself on a sobriety podcast
Yeah.
when my whole life is like I am drunk. And as you can probably imagine, we'll probably be discussing when I was drunk, it was a lot worse.
I can imagine. Blimey,
Yeah.
that's something indeed. And you're only young as well. So when did this start happening for you?
Well, I'm 42 now.
Are you? You
Uh,
don't look it.
oh, thank you very much. That's one good thing about my genes is that I
Yeah.
still look quite young at 42. Unfortunately, Friedreich's ataxia is genetic, so
Yeah.
it really feels like I've got the good end of the genes in some ways, but the bad end in others.
Yeah.
So I've had Friedreich's ataxia for about 20 years.
Mm.
So I was about 22 when I first started my journey to get a diagnosis. It's quite a rare condition. There's various kinds of ataxia. Uh, Friedrich's being the kind of main genetic one. But it's quite difficult, and actually, a lot of neurologists and GPs have never actually heard of ataxia. So when I first went to a GP, one of them said, "Oh, I think are you sure you don't have cerebral palsy?" And I think, by the age of 22, you're pretty sure you don't have that.
Mm.
A lot of people thought it might be MS as well. One person said, "Oh, don't worry." This was the GP. They said, "Oh, don't worry. Some people are just like that. Some people are a bit wobbly." And obviously now I use a wheelchair. I think, you weren't particularly very good at your job that day, were you?
Bloody hell. Oh, well, Kate, honestly, and if anyone wants to see how lovely and young you are, I've got a
Oh,
YouTube channel that they can find on the bio on my Instagram because a lot of people like to watch the episodes as well as listen to them. But let's wind it back a bit then, Kate, and start from the beginning and what it was like for you growing up.
okay. So I grew up in a small village outside Salisbury in Wiltshire. I have an older brother. He's about 7 years older than me, so fairly big age gap. I've got mum and a dad, like everyone, but when I was about seven, my parents broke up. One thing that was kind of a big theme for my childhood, I think I was quite lonely, as I've said. My brother was quite a lot older than I was, so I didn't really have anyone at home that I could hang around with. And living in a village, it's almost pot luck whether there's going to be other people your age living in the village or living close by. So unfortunately, I was feeling a little bit lonely. And I did have one friend, and unfortunately, my dad left my mum for their mum.
Oh,
So I think after that, I had probably trust issues with forming a close friendship with people. And so when I was at primary school, before my dad left, he thought it would be a good idea if I went to a private school, which wasn't great because we weren't particularly rich. He had his own business, that's where the money came from. And I kind of didn't really fit in there. A lot of people were boarders. Salisbury is very, it has Salisbury Plain where all the kind of military things happen.
yeah.
So a lot of people were army kids. So I just found that it was difficult for me to relate to anyone. We didn't have the money that they had, so I didn't have anything like horses or, anything like that. So, um, in a way, I felt a little bit like I was being looked down on, particularly when I would talk about one of my possessions when I was younger was neighbours. And that was very, very frowned upon at the school I went to as being something that maybe the lower classes enjoyed. So yeah, I felt quite isolated there, and I think having this friend who I wasn't friends with anymore because of what happened with my dad, as well as not really being able to relate to anyone, I didn't want to form any close friendships anyway. So, bit of a lonely kid,
Mm,
unfortunately.
How did that affect you going into your teens?
So I was quite shy and quite anxious. Things did improve when I went to secondary school. I did make friends, but I found it quite difficult when I think I tended to get quite jealous when my friends would perhaps go off with the other people or, hang around with other people. And I think maybe I'd be like, oh no, they're abandoning me. But,
Yeah.
it was just completely normal. But for me, I felt very anxious about this.
Mm,
And then I think it's a story of a lot of people who grew up in a small town. People always say, oh, Salisbury, it's so lovely. But when you're 12, 13, you don't want to go and look at Stonehenge or, ancient cathedral. You just want to have fun with your friends. And, like a lot of people, that's when the drinking started. So people would go down to the park. We had a few older friends. We would hang out with people who were older because then they would be able to buy us the booze. So yeah, I would say then I started to come out of my shell a little bit more, and I think that almost felt like kind of self-medication for my anxiety.
and being accepted and getting more friends. I mean, it's quite a common thing, isn't it? When I was 14, I was the similar, my mum had left and I was shy and I wasn't streetwise. I was anxious and stuff like that. And I really struggled with it. And when I started drinking, it was like the magic potion because they thought I was funny and I fitted in. Do you know what I mean? Where I didn't feel like I fitted in before that.
Yeah, I think completely. That's the thing, isn't it? You kind of lose your inhibitions, and suddenly you find you're able to talk to people.
Yeah,
I certainly did.
yeah, yeah. So what was it like cider at the park kind of stuff?
Yeah, mostly cider. I think we sort of moved on to stronger things. Uh, I seem to remember everyone going through a martini phase.
Blech.
I think it was quite cheap for a bottle of
God.
Tesco own brand martini, but absolutely disgusting stuff. And then obviously vodka, that kind of thing. It seemed to be sort of the cheap brand of vodka.
So, yeah, so that was in your teens and that. So how did that convert into the harder stuff? Because it seems like you still quite young then to be doing that.
Yeah, I was quite like, it's funny you should say I'm looking younger now, because when I was sort of 15, 16, I was the one who looked older.
Yeah,
So, so I found that I was able to get served in the off licenses, and something that's very different from today, but was different in the 90s, is that you could get served anywhere. There was always a pub in every town, or maybe several pubs that just sort of turned a blind eye to it.
yeah,
And you know, the police would know, everyone would know, and there wasn't really the legislation that there is now. I
mm,
think in a way, in Salisbury especially, I think they'd rather have had us in a pub than you know sitting in a ornate garden or whatever.
yeah,
So
yeah. For the tourist side of things, do you know what I mean? People visiting Salisbury and walking through a park and seeing you drinking vodka isn't the ideal PR thing, is
exactly.
it?
And we were all a little bit alternative. So some of us were goths, a lot of people were quite metal. So, you know, there'd be lots of kids wearing stripy tights and Slipknot hoodies.
Yeah,
And not me particularly, but certainly my friends.
yeah,
And some of the older people, which now I'm a bit older, I don't have my own kids, but we were 15, and there were people hanging that we would hang around with who were definitely a lot older than we were. And, you know, maybe I suppose they were probably old punks. So maybe they were 20 years older than us.
mm,
And it was just really, now I look back on it, it's really cringy that, you know, 15, you're hanging out with somebody in the mid 30s. Just seems a bit creepy.
yeah. But you don't care. The inhibitions go, don't they? And you look up to them as your elders and all
And
that
they're
bit.
buying the booze. You're
Yeah,
giving them
exactly.
money and they're going the news agents. So,
Yeah. Did you go to uni?
yeah, so I went to uni in Southampton. When I went to, I've just recently done a master's at Brighton Uni. And the difference now to how it was, I mean, obviously I'm older now, but the difference just, you could see it in the other students. A lot of people went to the university in Southampton, wasn't the actual uni, it was the Southampton Institute. So it was a lot of people who wanted to go to uni but perhaps didn't have amazing grades. And they just wanted to go to uni to party. And that's certainly why I went.
And what, like with the uni as a student, are you okay?
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
That was a bit. Right, sorry.
Okay, it's all right. We can start again. We can cut that bit out, right? So with the uni comes a uni and bar, right?
Yeah,
And what was that?
pound a pint.
Pound a pint.
Yeah, so we could all afford that. And so yeah, it was quite expensive, really. Sorry, inexpensive.
Yeah, yeah, pound a pint, and that was in the 90s, right?
I started there in 2001,
Okay,
but
2001. And did your drinking ramp up then?
definitely, because I lived on my own or lived in the halls. I didn't have a mum kind of laying down the law,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was able to pretty much do what I wanted to. And the problem is, coming from Salisbury, I think I was quite naive to the dangers of walking around drunk in the middle of the night
Yeah.
on my own.
Yeah.
Salisbury is, it's probably, I wouldn't recommend doing it to anyone,
Yeah.
but it's probably a lot safer than somewhere like Southampton.
Yeah.
And friends who had come down from London, they almost couldn't believe that I wouldn't get a taxi and that I'd walk home sort of, wobbling all over the place. I imagine that's probably about when my ataxia symptoms began.
So yeah, so tell us about that, right? So you were early 20s, were you?
Yeah, so I started to notice, and it would be when I was drunk, I was falling over more. I was struggling to carry drinks, struggling to get up and down stairs. Um, and to be honest, for a while, I thought that that was normal for when you were drunk. So yeah, that that was obviously a mistake because it wasn't at all.
Have a pause and take a big glug of water.
Yeah, will do. Sorry. Right.
Right, I'm going to start
Have a
again.
cautionary sip.
Better? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start again where it's so when did you start to notice the symptoms, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
right, let's start again. So when did you start to notice the symptoms of the ataxia?
So when I was probably in my early 20s, I started to notice that I couldn't carry drinks without spilling them. It was more difficult to go up and down stairs. And I noticed that I was having a few falls, especially when I was drunk. So, yeah.
Sounds like when I was drunk all the time. So
Well, yeah.
I suppose in a way it's hard to differentiate because you probably might have thought that you've drunk more than you had.
And to be honest, it's a little bit strange, but I just thought that's what people did when they were drunk.
Yeah,
I mean, when people did drink to excess at uni, and they would be falling over and, almost having the symptoms that I have every day now at the, nowadays. But it wasn't normal. Looking back on it, I can see that not only was this happening, but I was definitely drinking a lot more than everyone else.
yeah, yeah.
Other people seem to have limits, and I didn't.
So you knew as soon as you had a drink, there was a no off switch for you, and you just carried on.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I used to have this strange rule that I made for myself. It's like, well, I can have one, but I can't have, if I have two, I have to have three. I don't know why I couldn't have two drinks. It was either have one and that might be okay. It usually wasn't.
Yeah.
But then once I had three, that would turn into, in the sort of tens or twenties. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a switching point for me of 4 drinks, and then I would just stay out. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It would be like if I was say going to the pub for a beer after work, and I would park the van up round the corner in the side street, and I would think, right, I can have one. And that would turn to two, and then I'd think, oh well, I'll just walk home because it wasn't that far. But after 3 or 4, it was like I'll be in here all night, and that's the way it used to rumble with me, you know. But there was also part of me that knew I'd be in there all night anyway. That's why I parked the van around the side street. Um,
Definitely. I think once you've been drinking for a while, you know your habits and you try and sort of talk yourself out of them. But deep down you really know you know what's gonna happen.
so you started noticing these symptoms. At what point did you feel like you needed to see the doctor?
So I went to see the doctor probably about a year after they had been sort of getting worse. I moved from Southampton back to my mum's house in Salisbury. So I saw my kind of GP that I've been seeing my whole life there, somebody that I trusted. I can vaguely recall trying to speak to somebody in Southampton. I think they were possibly the doctor that saw a lot of students. So I think maybe they thought I was just just drinking too much, or that I was just making it up for some
Yeah.
reason. I mean, we could have a whole lot of conversation about how a lot of people aren't believed when they go to doctors with symptoms, but that's a whole other conversation.
So when you went to the doctor in Southampton, you say that in Salisbury, you say that you trusted him. Um, and did they send you for tests?
Yeah, so they sent me to, well, the funny story, they sent me to a neurologist who gave me a brain scan. A few hours later, I'm in the pub, absolutely pissed off my face, basically, and turn around and I went, oh,
Oh
hey,
my
you're the
God.
person that did my x-ray. And they were
Oh,
just like,
Jesus.
oh, okay.
Were you drinking before then? Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah,
So
no, I wasn't drinking before the
no,
x-ray.
they probably thought you might have been.
They may have done, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. So when the results come back, did they show something?
They showed some abnormalities, and that's when people started to use the word ataxia.
Right.
So, obviously, it showed that I didn't have anything like MS or cerebral palsy or other kind of neurological conditions. And then, as these investigations were going on, I moved to Brighton and basically had to start again because for whatever reason my medical notes didn't show this. And actually, again, I had problems in Brighton with doctors not believing me, which is a story I had in Southampton.
So is it a really rare condition then?
It is fairly rare, yeah. The kind I have is the least rare one.
Right, okay, which is the Friedreich's ataxia. And so even though you knew you had this condition, um, did you carry on drinking?
Yeah, yeah, it didn't stop. And actually, I think the anxiety uh, from having all these investigations and wondering what was wrong with me, I think that made it worse because I think I was self-medicating,
Mm.
and I was almost going out. and yeah, kind of almost getting obliterated to forget about the problem that I was having.
Mm,
And I think for anyone that doesn't know, Brighton is a party zone, and that's certainly one of the reasons why I moved here.
mm.
I made some really great friends, but they all enjoyed, a party. All enjoyed going out clubbing, that kind of thing. So I just certainly didn't move somewhere calmer.
No, no.
No.
So did your drinking get progressively worse? And what did it look like then? Like how much was you drinking?
Um, I started drinking. I had a little bit more money because I was working. So I would start to get rounds of shots in, that kind of thing. I would probably drink things more like gin and tonic, double, obviously, rather than drinking beer. And of course, you can drink a gin tonic, a double gin tonic, a lot quicker than you can drink a pint of beer.
Yeah.
So I was probably drinking at least twice as much alcohol in half as much time.
And did your friends notice that you were different? Like were they like big party people or were you drinking more?
They were big party people, some more than others. I was certainly in the kind of category of the biggest partiers out of all of us.
Yeah.
Um, People did notice. My really close friends have always been really amazing. They'd always help me, but obviously that made me feel like a bit of a burden,
Mm,
which is a problem people face with disability anyway. And then I would have kind of friends of friends or just people I met, kind of, making comments, making nasty comments. I was called spastic quite a lot for a laugh. And people would be like, "Oh, hi, love," and stuff like that. So, other my friends were noticing, and other people in the pub were noticing. Um, I was getting denied entry into places. Taxi drivers wouldn't take me, even if I wasn't actually that drunk. And the funny thing is, no matter how much I drink, I'm very rarely sick.
mm.
So, which can be, more of a hindrance because you
Yeah.
don't have that level of stopping.
Did so were your symptoms getting worse? And did your friends notice that?
They did, yeah. I think some more than others. It's a lot of people who get disabled later in life do discuss that there's almost like cut-off point, and you sort of find out in quite a harsh way sometimes who your friends actually are, because a lot of people just didn't want to deal with me, and at the time that was hurtful,
Mm,
but because of the drinking, and the behavior, I was certainly not a quiet person when I drank
yeah,
either,
yeah.
and would say what I thought, or sort of make jokes that were perhaps really unwelcome,
Mm,
and not very kind in instances. So I think that certainly made a few people kind of, walk away at that point. And I think as my physical symptoms got worse, my mental health got a lot worse as well.
mm. Yeah, I can imagine. And what were you now, Kate, in your mid-20s, say?
Yes, so I was in my mid 20s. I was pretty much working not great admin jobs just to kind of pay for my partying. I did have an interest in healthcare and I did start working for the NHS. And people always laugh because I worked in substance misuse.
Oh, wow.
It was really interesting. Brighton is obviously quite a hot spot for that kind of thing. So I worked there and it was really interesting, but it didn't make things any better. And actually, part of my job was writing up notes for people, for new patients as they came in. And one lady was drinking a bottle of vodka every day and then vomiting the bottle of vodka and then re-drinking it.
Oh, God.
And I mean, that's the worst example that I can give you of something that I saw. But in my head at the time, I just thought, well, I'm not that bad, so
Yeah.
it's fine. I'll just carry on.
I know it
So
justifies your own bloody drinking when you see that, doesn't it? It's like,
yeah, it does. And I remember another lady came in and she was drinking 2 cans of Pimm's a night. But she wanted help because she couldn't stop doing it. And now I kind of think that's brilliant that she found the problem, early on. But
but
at the time, I was like, 2 cans of Pimm's,
yeah, I
lightweight,
know.
and
Yeah, but
yeah,
do you know what? I always say that if drinking's a problem, it's a problem, and it doesn't matter how much you drink. It could make you anxious. It could affect your sleep. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I never like to compare of, um, well, I'm Glugs and I used to drink a litre of vodka a night. You drinking like a bottle of wine's nothing because to someone else, a bottle of wine's the equivalent of a bottle of vodka. Do you know what I mean? Because of how they feel. So I think it's brilliant
exactly.
that she thought I actually don't even want to do this. I think that's great.
Yeah,
So
I
right,
think
you were
that's
in your
amazing.
twenties, sorry, Kate, you were in your mid-20s and that, and so did you get the results back to say that's what you had?
Yes. So finally, I found a GP who sent me to neurologists. It's really difficult when you have ataxia and you're trying to pronounce really difficult
I can't
words.
even pronounce it, let alone you.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. But anyway, they'd actually heard of an ataxia clinic in London. So I went up there, had the tests, had all the genetic tests, that kind of thing. And finally, after about 7 years, they found out it was Friedreich's ataxia. And one thing that I always think when you get a diagnosis of, a really life-changing condition, there's no cure at the moment for Friedreich's ataxia, and they let me know that they let me know it's progressive, all the problems I could have, and then they're just like, okay, see ya then. There's no offer of mental health support, and that's around about this time I started drinking every day,
Oh,
unsurprisingly.
bless you. Is that still the same now then? Is that changed or is it?
There's still no cure, but recently they have found they've uh, tested a drug which slows the progression
Right.
down, which has just got approval to be rolled out. All it's waiting for, annoyingly, is funding.
Oh, usual,
So
isn't it?
it's the drug company
Yeah.
wants to charge the NHS a lot of
Yeah.
money
Yeah, of
for it.
course they do.
So
Of course they do. So you started drinking every single day.
yeah,
And when you say day, was it day or in the evenings?
it was in the evening, so I was still working during the day. I have ended up temping for the legal aid agency because I had to quit my job with substance misuse because I just started finding it really difficult working in that environment. It's quite difficult
Mm,
seeing how certain substances can ruin people's lives. So I decided to just sort of take it back and go back to temping. So I wasn't really kind of fulfilling any ambitions doing that. I was mostly filing.
mm.
So I was drinking every day. I was newly single after my partner of I think about 2.5 years. Funnily enough, ran away with one of my best
Oh, Kate,
friends.
oh my God.
So it kind of, it's almost like history repeating itself.
Yeah.
So again, I felt very betrayed, very sort of lonely in that situation. The drinking got a lot worse.
Mm, bless you. So, what did that look like? Was you drinking like spirits or?
Um, Basically, mostly I would have in the week, I would have one, maybe two bottles of wine, which I would buy on my way home from work. I would uh change where I bought it from, so different supermarkets, different news agents. I don't buy more than one or two because I know that I would just drink what was there.
Mm,
So if it had been I'm saying if it had been a particularly stressful day, I would have two. Bearing in mind, I've just said that my job was an admin job, mostly filing. It wasn't a particularly stressful job, but I would tell myself that it was and that
yeah,
I deserved an award,
yeah,
a reward
yeah,
for it.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
We make it up
that's,
in our own head, don't we? We think, do you know what? I've had a really bad day, just so it justifies the drinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
And then the next day's even worse because you feel like shit. So quite
I was,
often you drink off the back of that.
yeah, completely. Like you get home, you're like, oh, I made it through that hangover. I'll have some wine.
Yeah.
Um, I found that the morning after, the more I drank, I would feel more wobbly. My symptoms would be a lot worse.
Mm.
And then I would sort of get a bit, start having panic attacks, that kind of thing. So I found it really difficult to actually get in and out of the office. So yeah, that's when things started getting really bad.
Um, when you had the results, did they say to you anything about alcohol? Like, did they say to you, like, you've got to like moderate or stop drinking because of your symptoms?
I had been advised to. I was a smoker for a while as well. And they obviously, I think dogs advise you to give that up anyway, whatever you've got.
Mm,
But yeah, they did say, obviously you drink, and obviously I told them I did, but I think similar to a lot of people in this situation, you lie a bit and bring the daily total down. Anyway, one I cut my consultant did advise that I stop drinking, but in a way, in my head, I just thought, well, I've had to give up so much already for my life. I'm not
mm,
giving up booze.
mm.
That's one
Yeah,
step too far. I need this. This helps me cope with it.
yeah. So it got worse and worse and worse, and your drinking was quite heavy daily, 1 to 2 bottles
Hmm.
of wine a night. What happened
And
on?
that was on a work day.
Yeah, all
Uh,
right. So weekends was
at the
obviously,
weekend,
yeah,
it was worse. It
yeah.
started earlier, and I feel better because I would be with people then. Whereas on a weeknight, I lived in a shared house, so I would just sit in my bedroom, sit in bed, drinking a bottle of, just filling the glass up,
Mm.
watching telly. So, yeah.
Neighbours. So it's
Yeah.
actually, when you think about it, it's really sad. But when you're in it, it doesn't feel sad. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, because it was like, they say, oh, it's my best friend. But I used to sit on the sofa listening to Pink Floyd or numbing out to a film in a kind of a comfort zone. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I feel like I've got a big blanket around me now and nothing can touch me. And I think that's what kept taking me back to it every night.
It's almost, I think, got a kind of glamour to it as well. I used to drink red wine out of a big glass, and I'd always notice that in EastEnders, when they'd have an argument, they'd turn around, pour themselves a big glass of wine, and just, kind of decompress. And
Mm,
it just seemed to feel like I was kind of almost like more because it was wet red wine as well. It almost felt grown up,
mm.
sophisticated.
Yeah, this is why there's such an influence in films and advertising. Like I saw an advert down a tube station the other day, and it was of this perfect scene, in Italy or somewhere, and everyone was the perfect weight and, the amazing age. It's almost like AI had designed the advert of everything was perfect, with these little cocktail glasses with whatever was in it. And it's like, that's not reality. Do you know what I mean?
And certainly not with Brits abroad either.
No,
Our reputation.
no, it's probably in Swansea or somewhere. But no,
Yeah.
no, no, I've been to Swansea and it's lovely, by the way. I just need to caveat that before I get trolled.
Yes.
But, uh, but okay. So you're at this point in your life, in bed, drinking wine, at the weekends, drinking more, but your friends are around, and you was diagnosed. Then what?
Then I decided for the first time that this wasn't working for me. And actually, I think that I gave up drinking about the same time as you because we were friends on Instagram, which was sort of 2000, start of 2019.
Yeah.
And so I made it about 8 months for that year. And then you start sort of telling yourself, oh, I've
Mm,
done well, I can moderate this will be fine. And it's not, obviously, because I lockdown happened. One of my best friends sadly passed away right at the beginning of lockdown, not from COVID, but from an accident. And that was obviously really upsetting for me. So I started drinking every day from boredom, more than anything. I worked for a charity, but at the time I was doing temporary administration. So as soon as lockdown started, there was no work for me to do. So I moved back to my mum's and yeah, just started drinking every day again. And that continued for the whole of that year. And then New Year's Eve 2020 to 2021. I spent it with my mum, got absolutely wasted. And it was really awful because my mum didn't have to see that. So I decided to stop drinking again after that. This time lasted 10 months, and then the moderation
yeah.
started whispering in my ear again. And I then drank again increasingly, not so much every day, but really binging when I did drink. And then 2023, I had a few instances where friends actually had to get me home because I was just in such a state. And it got to kind of August 2023. I'd just been accepted to do a master's in journalism at Brighton Uni. So I had something to look forward to. So I started to think maybe you should just not drink while you're doing the master's. And then, so 7th of August 2023 was the last time I drank.
Oh,
It was
brilliant.
Pride weekend. The Saturday of Pride got absolutely wasted. My friend had to get me home. I was due to meet some other friends in the park for Pride the next day, and I kept saying, I'm not coming, I'm not coming, I'm not coming. And they were like, go on, come on. So I went there really hungover. I had a couple of vodkas and cokes. I was there, we watched Steps, and whilst watching Steps, I can't believe it was watching Steps. I had a bit of an epiphany, and I was like, I'm not gonna drink anymore, and I haven't drank since.
That's
That's nearly
amazing.
2 years.
And they've just had a complete relaunch steps, haven't they? So
They have, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I saw something about neighbours, so it's all coming back, eh? It's all
It's all coming back. I mean, I've got to admit, I wasn't a Steps fan in the old days, but they've grown on me and they were absolutely fantastic.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe they were so good they stopped me drinking. I
Well,
don't know,
something
but
happened that day, right? And it's serendipity, right? And what was it like with your symptoms? Did your symptoms improve, or did it just highlight that when you weren't drinking, what they were
I
like?
think they did improve to a degree because I think my body is healthier now.
Yeah,
It's not kind of full of toxins and poison sort of
yeah.
every morning when I wake up. I won't sort of have too many drinks and smoke cigarettes, which obviously make you feel awful as well.
Hmm.
Um, so I do think it's improved my symptoms. I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that I've got more energy now. That's certainly a big thing, and
Yeah.
because I've got more energy and more money from not drinking, I've been able to start seeing a personal trainer who's
Hmm.
got experience working with people with disabilities. So I've been able to do things that I certainly couldn't have done if I had carried on drinking. And they're things that I probably wouldn't have wanted to do either.
Hmm.
I think it does take a while for I think it takes a while for you to get used to almost the boredom of not drinking because I think boredom was a big trigger for me. So you spend the first few months of sobriety, I spent it eating ice cream
Hmm.
instead of drinking. That's what I spent the time doing. But as things progressed, I did the masters. I got a part-time job, which is a lot better and a lot more involved than what I've been doing before. So, yeah, things just started to fall into place. Things
Hmm.
that I definitely wouldn't have been able to do, had I continued drinking.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's interesting what you say about boredom, right? Because I always look at it, we're so institutionalized in our drinking, right? And drinking is chaotic when it gets to our level, right? So you have so many ups and downs in your day. You don't sleep properly. You might be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. You have to go to work and you feel like hell. And then you start to feel better again. Then you drink again. So that's the big high. And then you roll over to 3 o'clock the next morning, massive low, chaos. You might have sent some dodgy texts or said something
Hmm.
inappropriate to a relative or whatnot, right? Which is chaos and drama. And when you stop drinking, you're mindful of how you speak to people, you sleep better, you've got more energy and whatnot. And that can appear to be boring, right? Because you're missing the chaos. But it's getting used to the calm in your life, I think, takes months to get used to, because I look at it like a heartbeat that's just beeping along the line nicely. But with me, it was like beating like a clappers or really slow. You know, it's either
Mhm.
yin or yang, one or the other when I was drinking. And now I know where I am in my life and I know my thought process. But it can appear boring because, you know, cortisol and adrenaline in our bloodstream, you know, is addictive. It can be really, cortisol's addictive, adrenaline, right? So when we stop, it's like, oh God, is this it? And oh God, what have I got to look forward to? But
Mm.
this really is what you got to look forward to, is that you know that tomorrow you're going to wake up, and barring what you're just getting over actually is a bad cold,
Yeah,
you know where you are. But when you're drinking, you know that you're going to feel like death the next day, don't you?
definitely. Yeah, you're almost living a half life because you're not really living to your full potential.
Mm.
And one thing which I kind of realized recently is how much of my 20s and 30s, how many Sundays I spent in bed with a really terrible hangover, watching the Hollyoaks Omnibus. I think I've mentioned all the soaps
I
now.
was going to say, yeah, they were.
But yeah, I mean, and all that time when I could still walk and I felt a lot more healthy, I wasted in bed.
Mm.
And that is something that I really regret now looking back.
Well, you know, we can all live in regret from the past, but you're doing really well now and life's improved and you look great. What are you going to do tonight? What's Brookside? We got to get that one
What?
in, right?
I wish. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't actually watch any soaps anymore. Then maybe that's something that's come with sobriety.
Yeah,
My
yeah, yeah.
tastes have changed.
Yeah, yeah, watching documentary. I'll tell you what I watched the other day, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I don't know how I found it, but it was The Bill.
Oh,
Oh my
fantastic.
God. Do you know what? They used to film it because I used to live in Sutton, right? And near there's a place called Mitcham, and they used to have the police station in Mitcham on this little industrial estate, whereas in kind of South Wimbledon, Sunhill, wasn't it? And I was watching it thinking,
Ah,
oh my God, I was probably in my 20s, like 10 years ago, obviously. Hello.
yeah.
And yeah, all these blasts from the past are mad, aren't they? It makes you realize how quickly life goes, right? And what you said then about you only live half a life really hit a note with me, because I've often said I don't really remember my 40s. And what a
Mm.
waste, eh? A whole decade of being absolutely obliterated and having really only negative memories from that. And I always say as well, Kate, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can turn your life around from today. You can go, do you know what? I'm not doing it anymore. And it will only get better, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think turning 40 was a really big stepping stone for me as well. It was a lot of realizations. I think everyone gets that at 40, but yeah, big milestone.
yeah. So you're sober now, you're living where you are, Brighton, and
Yeah.
which I absolutely love. And what does life look like for you now?
So I now work for a charity, Possibility People, which is charity for people with disability. I work in mental health with them. So I work in where we do co-production with patients and the NHS to kind of gather people's lived experience of mental health services, and we feed back to NHS and we hope for improvements.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that's
That's
really good, and I
wonderful.
love it. I work with people. I think I've had my mental health struggles, and so it makes it really easy to relate to people.
Oh, that's wonderful. You found your groove, right?
Yeah.
Eventually. Fabulous, Kate. Well, look, I'm so grateful you've come on and shared your story. I know you've just got over a really bad cold,
Yeah.
so you've got through it. Well done. And
Yes, thank you.
where can people find you on Instagram?
So, my Instagram handle is your wobbly friend.
There you go.
Yeah. And I will try to be your wobbly friend. I'm certainly wobbly, so
Yeah,
that
it's
I've got that down to a T.
that's it. Yeah, brilliant. And I'll put everything in the show notes and the bio and whatnot. But thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been amazing to hear it, and I really appreciate you. And one day,
Brilliant.
when I'm down in Brighton, I'm going to say hello to you.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. We can have an alcohol-free beverage.
Absolutely. And there's loads of places along there. When I was doing this course, I used to go every single evening along the front. And as you say, there's livelier parts of the place. But where I was up towards the Hove End, it was just so serene and that, and people just sitting on the beach and looking at the tide coming in. It's just got such a lovely vibe there.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I've been here 20 years and I can't imagine living anywhere else.
No. Well, I'll be there soon, believe me. That's where I'm headed.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Lovely
All
seeing
right, then.
you.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.